All right, we are live, so I'm going to start our audio and we're going to get started. Hey everyone, it's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like and subscribe to it on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play so that you can get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music, and my patrons Doug Jones, Joshua and Caleb Slinkard, Tom Brotherman, and Jeff Arbaugh, and my new patrons Joshua Johnson and Deborah Burris. If you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get path tags, and let me grab one. I'll show you. Path tags came in. So there's our first iteration of a path tag. There we go. Path tag. Sometimes it's hard to get it to focus, but there it is. And also coins as we do them, and other geocaching swag, as well as special events. And I'm still in the process of scheduling our first special event, only for patrons. We're going to play a game. It's the one that's always back here on the board. Behind this is GC World. You might be able to see it. I show part of the game board, but it's a lot of fun. We're going to be doing that hopefully this month. And anyway, support levels start for Patreon as little as $3 a month. So tonight we have some news from Joshua, the geocaching vlogger, and our weekly product tip. So let's jump right into show number 13 for Sunday, September 4th, as I welcome my friend WVTIM to the show. Tim, thanks for being on Geocache Talk tonight.
Hey, thanks, Gary, for having me.
Oh, you bet. I'm glad we got to work this out and talk about some cool stuff tonight. We're going to get right into that here in a second. But what's interesting is this is related, Tim, to what we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is Joshua put out, each month he's been doing these geo challenges. And this month is to become a geocaching hider. That's the September hashtag Geo Challenge of the month. So I think that's pretty cool. We're just talking about being cache owners, and so here we go. We're going to have a challenge for September for everyone to go out and hide a geocache. Hopefully, a quality geocache of some type.
That'd be great. Yep, yeah. He's a good man. I like Joshua.
Yeah, I do too. He's great. I'll talk at the end about. He's going to be on the show in a few weeks, and so we'll talk about that a little bit. But enough about Joshua. We're going to talk about Tim and the new Geotrail, Smart Caches of Berkeley County.
Correct.
SCBC. Okay, good. I got that right. That's right. So, Tim, why on earth did you decide to do this particular Geotrail?
Well, sometimes I ask myself that very same question.
Why did I start that?
I think it was it's kind of an evolution.
Okay.
As I look at my cache hiding, my first cache, I look back at, in fact, that question just made me think about, my first cache was an ammo can.
Right.
And,
hey, that's pretty good for a first one.
Yeah, so started with a large ammo can, and then put out a couple, lock and locks. But then to animals, mice and, any kind of animal I could find, and I'd cut a hole in it, and I'd stick a tube in it, just to be something different. Just something different than the typical hide. And then I evolved from there to my very first gadget cache. And that's a whole story in itself. But
well, I know. Now, was your first one? What was your first one?
My first one was actually high tech.
Okay.
And that's the cache. It's actually in Virginia, and it's right across the West Virginia line. Right where I'm at in West Virginia. I'm 10 minutes from Maryland and 10 minutes from Virginia, and half hour from Washington D.C.
Right.
And so my very first cache was called High Tech. I dreamed it up myself. I thought of this idea of this birdhouse, And then after I had that one idea, I thought, I love putting it out. I loved reading the logs. And I said, you know what? I'm going to parlay this idea and try to see if people will share with me some of the ideas. So I knew not to, and I was still new to geocaching, but I knew not to ask people in Maryland or Virginia, you know, in my close proximity. So one of the first people I contacted was Dayspring.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Yeah, that was the first name I thought of.
Who's in Seattle. And so I sent him an email, and instead of asking if he, well, and I asked him if he would share, he'd done a series called Total Tubular.
Oh yes,
and it's still out, very well known. In fact, he's one of the, I don't know where he's at in the scheme of things, but one of the top 20 geocache placers in the United States. And so he had these caches called Total Tubular. So I sent him my pictures and my ideas, and I said, hey, here's my idea for a great gadget cache. Would you be willing to share with me your idea for Total Tubular? And so that resulted in some emails back and forth. He loved the idea, so he sent me some of his ideas. I sent him some of my ideas, and I thought, shoot, it worked in Seattle. So why don't I try other places? So I started writing geocachers, even in other countries, English-speaking other countries, and I'd send them a picture of high tech, and I'd say, here's the birdhouse, here's how it works. Can you share with me your idea? And I would just search in, like, for example, Australia, find the #1 cache I could find, and you know, I could tell I had a lot of favorites, and I'd say, can you tell me how that works? And here's my idea that you're welcome to use. So I kind of started this. So there's where I started with high tech, and so I evolved through the gadget caches. And I was kind of running out of ideas. I've always got a few down on paper. I always have the next trail listed in my computer of possible caches and brainstorms I've come up with. But then I started just searching, and I saw there's some people in the United States that are doing amazing things with this thing called Arduino. So I watched every YouTube video I could find on Arduinos. I started talking to people. I started researching, and I thought, man, this is going to be the next, you know, this is going to be the next best thing. I mean, it's a gadget. Clearly it's a gadget, but it is really raising the bar.
Wow,
so I decided that's what I want to do, is I want to go to these Arduino caches. So that's kind of how I evolved. It really is, it's a gadget cache on steroids.
Yeah. You know, and you look back, and so many cool ideas you've come up with, and also have sort of inspired other people to come up with some things on their own. You know, there's, well, you've inspired me. We've talked about this before, but the one that I really like, because it's different, but you're the inspiration for it, was my sundial multicache, where you have to, you go to stage 1, you take out the little sundial, and then the sun, you have to do it at a certain time of the day, part of the day. The shadow will fall on a color, and based on that color, you go to the final, and that's where you go for that. But that whole idea was basically inspired by you. And I know we've talked about, you and I have talked about before, that you don't necessarily need people to write on the cache page, but I felt that it would be good to mention you, because it was just something that, and the idea behind thinking, you know, the old, you know, thinking outside the box, with thinking outside of the container a little bit, and going, well, what can we do to make the coordinates pop up differently for people, in this case. So, you know, I think that's definitely, and we've talked about before, you've really affected how people are starting to think about how to do geocaches.
Yeah. Well, and that's really, you know, it's interesting, because I talk with people all over the world by email. And some people will just, you can just give them a concept, and boy, they just take it and run with it. And they'll send me pictures later of the cache, and they'll say, you inspired this. And I look at it and I go, what I did I share? I mean,
Right.
I'm like, this don't look anything like mine. But that's the beauty of it. If you can just get people thinking, and thinking concepts like the silly concept with it's a cache now that I have archived, that oh shoot, it was at a rest stop. Now I've even forgot the name of it, but it used magnets. Oh, the key is the key.
Key is the key. Yeah,
the key is the key. 700, almost 800 favorites. And when I first came up with that idea, and I put it out on my YouTube channel, and it got copied. In fact, when the first one got copied, I thought, man, this is really cool. So very pridefully, must have been sin in my life, I started making a list, of different people that had copied it. And I thought, wow, this cache now is in this state or this country. Mm-hmm. Well, when the list got to 20 countries, I said, you know what? This is crazy, because I put a lot of them on my watch list. Well, I couldn't even read them. And then when, of course, you put them in Google Translator, I mean, they really make no sense then, because it doesn't always translate exactly, and especially with our acronyms. So I finally quit keeping track. But the key is the key has been copied probably in almost every state and at least 20 countries. I kept track of it for a while. But a lot of those caches don't look anything like mine. It's just an idea of using a hidden magnet and something metallic, and you can do 100 different things with that. Yeah. And so you get some people, they'll take the concept and just run with it. But then I always get those people, and I don't mind them. I always get those people that watch my YouTube video and say, I didn't quite get the measurements of the side panel.
Oh my. Yes.
And I'll say, well, take this concept, and they'll go, I need the measurements. I mean, and they want to copy the cache exactly. But you know what? I'm all for that too, because those people, they're starting off, and if we can get them starting building some of these, unique caches, they start seeing some of these logs, the excitement will hit them, and maybe they've never used this all before. So if I can give them the exact measurements, so be it. That's fantastic. Oh, yeah. But really, what you really want to do is just get people thinking. And now it's cute, because now I get the unsolicited emails, and I got one right before the show. I just came in from church, and I was looking for your email, and here's an email from a person that says, hey, I just did this trail, and you're the inspiration. Look at this link. And I can't wait to go look at it, because now people send me pictures of things they've done. And I look at them, and sometimes I'm sitting there looking at them with my iPad. And my wife will look, and she'll say, like, what's that? And I'll go, this is one of my inspired caches. And they'll go, what is it? And I go, I'm not really sure. I mean, you don't even recognize it, but that's the beauty of it. Because if you can just take a concept, then make it your own, that's great. And so that's hopefully, that's the whole reason I started my YouTube channel. I mean, I'm sure, my YouTubes are terrible. In fact, every once in a while somebody else, they'll send me,
I like them a lot.
Oh, they'll send me comments, and they'll say, you should, what kind of camera do you use? And I get that a lot. And I go, I use my iPhone. And they go, no, on your YouTube channel. I mean, what type of software do you use? And I go, I use an iPhone, but I have nothing fancy. I'm really just trying to get people thinking and sharing ideas, because of course you don't want to key is a key in the same county, but isn't it great when we can take these concepts and share them everywhere, and other people have great concepts they're sharing with me now. So I think the community, it's got the geocaching community talking more and more, and now there's Facebook pages and all these a lot of people are sharing stuff, and it's improving our game. It's making our game more fun, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think that Geocaching Inventors is one of the Facebook groups I follow, because it's in. Oh my gosh, there's so many unbelievable things that are out there, and it's got so many cool ideas. I saw One was on, lady was on Gearheads, and she talked about her chessboard, but it was set up in such a way that it was like a puzzle. You had to move the chess pieces a certain way to get the thing to. It was like it was locked, but if you moved them a certain way, the tumblers would move a certain way and it would unlock itself for you. So,
wow. Yeah.
Again, that's, that idea. Let's step back a minute. So you thought you got involved, and in a sense you said, well, Arduinos look cool. So you start looking at the concept, and so you started to kind of look at this. Now, when did your interaction with Olaf occur? Was that before your first one, or did Olaf, tell us a little about Olaf and how it all got started?
Yeah, Olaf is a German cacher, and he was following my YouTube channel. And we were talking back and forth, and I've probably got some people that I speak to often or trade emails and ask questions or ideas. And so these were with just gadget caches, nothing with the Arduino yet.
Right.
So he was built several of my gadget caches. And so in the meantime, separate from Olaf, I started looking, okay, what can I do to improve my game and to take it to the next level? And there are several people that are masters. I mean, truly, truly very talented cache builders that have built some Arduino caches. And I look at them and it makes my caches look bad. I mean, they're just so well done. And I just thought, boy, I've got to do that. So the first thing I did was I went to the bookstore and I tried to find, I went to Books A Million or whatever my close bookstore is, and I said, hey, I want a book on Arduinos. And they looked and they go, we got them, but you'd have to order them. And so I go back to Amazon and ordered a book. And I got one, and I really didn't understand it real well, so I ordered another and then another. So now I've got these 2 or 3 books, and I started reading, and I thought, well, the first thing I've got to do is buy a kit. And they make a starter kit, an Arduino starter kit, and it's really a great place to start. And there's usually the Arduino kit I had 20. It's almost like a small science fair project. You start with this very first Arduino program, and it tells you how to program it, how to download it, and maybe all you do is turn on an LED light by pushing a button. And then the next one gets a little more complicated, and they build. So I saw that, and I read it in 2 or 3 books, and I said, okay, I'm ready to make my purchase. So I ordered it. Well, the day I ordered it, I get this email from Olaf in Germany, and he goes, hey, I think I've got this cache, and I forget which one it was, one of my gadgets. He goes, I think I've got it built. What do you think should be my next cache? Which one of yours should I build? And I said, and I have, of course, never talked to him, never seen him in person, never seen a picture of him. And so I said, Olaf, here's something I want you to look at. And I sent him the link of what I'd ordered.
Right. Well, Arduino. That's cool.
The Arduino kit. So I sent him the Arduino kit, the kit on Amazon. And little did I know, not even knowing him, it's like I'm talking to a stranger. He was a programmer years ago and works for Airbus, and is very, very computer savvy. And that's what he does for a living. And so, boy, did I scratch him where he is. When he saw that email,
that's awesome.
I mean, within 15 minutes of reading the email, he'd ordered his Arduino kit.
Oh, that's awesome.
They come about 2 days apart. I start working on my Arduino kit. He starts working on his Arduino kit. He's excited. I'm excited. So then we started a dialogue. That ended up starting a friendship. Yeah. And he actually came this year from Germany and spent a week with me this summer and was at the SCBC kickoff.
Wow.
But he says he's got 2 left hands, but he's got a brain that must be this big because he goes past just basic programming. He understands pauses and how to put different things in the software, and his software is getting very, very complex. And so we've made a great team. I'm kind of the gadget engineering guy and the box guy, and he has done, 90, well, I don't know if 95, but he's probably done 80 to 90% of the programming. I've learned enough programming that after I get it from him, then I'll read it and I'll want to change a few things. So I can easily make changes, but he's the guy that raises it, from scratch. So clearly it's been a teamwork with Olaf and I.
Okay, cool. Yes, that is. So if somebody were to buy Arduino, they don't necessarily have to have, like you said, they don't need to have an extensive programming knowledge, because you could start small. It's in C++, right?
Yes.
Okay. But like you said, if you want to do one yourself, you could buy the kit and you could sort of maybe do the rudimentary phase of an Arduino for yourself, right? I mean,
yes.
Okay.
You can buy a kit, and it starts you with very, very simple, let's call them experiments, but very simple things.
About $20 to $30, do we think?
Now for the kit, I can't remember what the Arduino. The Arduino is actually.
Oh, there you got one showing it on the screen.
Yeah, here's the Arduino right here. Okay. Now this is actually an Arduino brand.
Yes, right.
And the Arduino brand Uno is around $25.
Okay.
Now I use a Sunfire.
Right, Sunfire, which is our Arduino type.
It's an Arduino, because this Arduino is a microprocessor, open architecture board. And so the Sunfounder, for example, one of the ones I use is the Sunfounder. It looks almost exactly like this. But instead of paying $25 for the Sunfounder, you pay $14.
Okay.
So but the kit, oh gosh, Gary, I wish I should have looked it up.
Well, it's all right.
I think the kit's maybe around $100 or something
for the whole thing.
The kit comes with, because for the Arduino, for this Arduino to talk to another sensor, you gotta have a piece, you gotta have a wire,
different cables,
and then of course you want to connect
the breadboard.
Yeah, you want to connect everything with a breadboard, and so the Arduino kit comes with a real simple set. I mean, a real rudimentary sensors, wires. It's really enough to keep you busy for a month or so. I mean, it did me. And so our Olaf and I started talking, and I go, I tried experiment 5. Y'all try that. So we were talking by email, all by email. Wow. And then he goes, well, you know what? I think if you put a pause in there, and I found out, and he started doing all this other research. So he loved the software side of things.
Cool.
And some of the folks that build Arduino geocaches in the United States are software gurus. I mean, they have really, I mean, it can be very sophisticated. Right. I have a couple of mine and Olaf's caches. I call them mine, but they're mine and Olaf's.
Sure.
We have a couple caches that have over 1,000 lines of code.
Wow.
Now, all you need to do is leave out one paren.
Whoops.
And it don't work, because after you do it, it gives you an automatic little check, and you can check your code. And so, I mean, 1,000 line of code, it really takes a lot of time. But well, the thing with Arduinos is the sky is the limit as far as possibilities. If you can dream it, I mean, and this is almost scary, but if you can dream it, you can build it into a geocache. Amazing. Because if you can dream it, there's a sensor that will do it.
Right.
So this microprocessor board has both digital and analog inputs and outputs. So sensors can either be analog or digital. So just, like, let me ask you, like, think of sensors. Just name sensors that come to mind. Can you think of any kind of sensor?
Heat sensor.
Yep. You could do a cache where you got to raise the temperature.
How about altitude?
Altitude. I happen to have a cache called altitude cache. Guess what you got to do?
You got to climb.
You either have to climb.
Yeah.
And in fact, this I won't give it away, but you either have to climb, but the climbing can be kind of scary. So if you don't feel comfortable climbing, then you can go downhill. So what we did, and this is Olaf and I doing FaceTime because we started brainstorming. Sure. And I told Olaf about this thing in our county that you could climb. He got all excited, and but then I sent him a picture, and he goes, "I think I would be too scared to climb that." And you don't want to put a cache out that people can't do. So the next email I get from Olaf, he had this brainstorm. He goes, "Hey, why don't we make it a change of altitude?" And I go, "Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant." So when you open this cache up and you put your batteries in, it says you have to go up 50 feet or down 50 feet.
Right.
Well, so I thought, well, that was cool. So I went up and tried it, and it worked great. And then Olaf has a little mean streak in him, and he goes, "How long did it take you to climb?"
Oh.
And I said, "I think I can do it in like 9 minutes." And he said, "Why don't we put a timer on it that you have to complete it within 11 minutes?" Right. Well, Gary, you talk about a cool caching experience. You open a cache, you put your batteries in. I mean, also too, if you really think about what we're talking about here, we're talking about a cache that is communicating with you. That's a long way from Tupperware in the woods.
Oh boy, it is.
I mean, this is a long way. In fact, I'm going to chase the rabbit here. I got to tell you one story. The other day, on one of my caches, I did an update, and I didn't do it on purpose. I just got home, and we had done a software change on one of our caches, and we talked about it. And when Olaf was here, he goes, "When I get back to Germany, I think I'm going to make this change, and I think this will work better." I said, "That's great, let's do that." So we brainstormed on a little napkin. So he went back and coded it. I brought the cache in, downloaded it. So after I took the cache back out, I wrote something, and after I wrote it, I had kind of it was like one of those aha moments. Like the sky opened up, I wrote, I typed on my maintenance note, "Updated software to the cache today," period, and hit submit. And I thought, I just said I updated the software to a geocache. And I thought, I never thought I would ever say that I updated software in a geocache. So anyway, that's chasing rabbits. So go back to this altitude cache. So I told Olaf, I said, "I think I did it in 9 minutes." He goes, "Let's put a timer on it." Well, now you go up there and you open it, and it says you have to increase your altitude or decrease your altitude. And so you look at what you got to climb, and you go, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go down the hill."
Right.
But then the next line on the LCD monitor comes up and says, "Oh, by the way, you only have 11 minutes."
11 minutes.
Well, now it's like, now you're like, "Oh my gosh, we only got 11 minutes." And it adds a whole different level of excitement to the geocache. So now, people go running down the hill or heading up the hill because this clock is ticking down.
Amazing.
So altitude, temperature, in a water tank, you have the sensors up in the top of the water tank that shoot down and hit the water and bounce back up to the sensor, and it tells you how much water's in a tank. Well, how about putting one of those sensors in front of a cache, and so it actually bounces off you, and so. How about making you have to step back 5 feet and then step forward 3 feet, then step back 8 feet, then come forward? So now it looks like you're dancing. Right. So you can have a cache that makes you move. You can have a cache that you have to use lights on. You can have to have a cache that senses. I have one that's called fire safety, and it uses a sensor that looks for a spectrum of light that is only found in a match.
No way.
So you have to light the cache on fire, but
well,
then
not the actual cache.
Then we have another sensor that measures resistance. So now you have to put the fire out, theoretically, virtually, by putting water in a tube.
Okay.
So if you can dream it, if you can dream up a sensor, you can now, in a way that you can attach it into a geocache. So you talk about the future of geocaching. I mean, I have no idea what's even going to be in store in the next 4 or 5 years, because there's going to be so many things available to us.
Now I thought of one because here in Greenville, we have a little group of guys. We go out. Slinky Mom and I usually always geocache together, the two of us. That's kind of our marriage thing that we do. The two of us, we like to go places. We just got back from a geo tour down in San Marcos, Texas. Had a great time, but sometimes the guys go together, and I'm thinking, what about a cache where you have to have a group, or at least two people that you have to have them work together?
Yeah.
So like maybe you could call it like twins.
Yeah, there's an idea. There's an idea.
I know you have one like that. Talk a little bit about that cache.
That's a cache. It's 2 birdhouses, and I would love to do this. I can't. In fact, if any of your listeners have ideas, I'd love to have them. Wouldn't it be great to have a whole trail that takes teamwork?
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Because any cache that takes teamwork, just is so much more fun.
Yes.
I have a cache that's a gadget that I have on my YouTube channel. It's called Faster, Faster, Faster.
Yes, I love that.
It's the tube underneath a merry-go-round. Well, one of you have got to sit on there and hold your hand on the cache, and then the other person has got to spin you.
Spin the merry-go-round,
there's just something about doing a cache with a friend that makes it so much fun. So Olaf and I was brainstorming, and I don't know which one of us, I think it was maybe me. I came up and I said, hey, could we do a radio transmitter between 2 geocaches? And he says, we can do it. And he said, so really we've got a birdhouse. So you find one birdhouse, and the 2 birdhouses are painted very unique, but they're painted exactly alike. So we try to use, I think a cache page makes a big difference in a cache. And sometimes people take those for granted, but I think putting pictures on your cache page, using different font, changing color, highlights, that adds a lot of pop. And so the same way with the box, I used to just paint them. Now I paint them, they're different tones. I'm doing, all these different colors, and I'm trying to make my caches pop. So I've made these 2 caches. They're very different. They look, they're different painting scheme, but they look exactly alike. So we take you to one, and then you have to look around, and we don't even tell you where the second one is. So you have to find the other twin. So you just start looking all around, and it's not too hard, but you'll see about 150 feet away.
Yeah.
You'll see another birdhouse that looks exactly like the one you're standing at. So when you go and you power up those 2 caches, you actually have to have 2 different people. You have to have 2 people. It takes teamwork, and you have to push a button, and you have to count down, and you have to push a button at the same time. So most people go, ready, set, go, and they both push the button at the same time. And the 2 caches talk to each other.
Wow.
And one gives you the north coordinates, and one gives you the west coordinates, and then you can go find the last stage. It's a multi-cache.
Now, on something like that, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, did that incredible idea, but the process by which the two have to talk to each other. How long did it take to get the? I mean, I know the concept's out there for Arduinos, but for you guys, how long did it take you guys to kind of get this to actually work completely? Do you think?
Well, I'd say, you can make them and you can build them. I built mine right here where I'm sitting here talking to you. It's where I built mine, right in front of the computer. Because when you take your Arduino, this is a USB connection right here. Right. And so the best way to power your Arduino is just take your USB port, plug it right back into your computer.
Okay.
But I found out one thing. This Arduino wants 5.5 volts. Well, the USB port gives it a perfect 5.5 volts. So one of the early things I found was batteries aren't the perfect environment, because you can get it to work, and maybe it's very sensitive, and so you program it and it works great on your computer. But it's a whole different animal when you put it on a set of batteries.
Right.
And so you're either going to have to, if you use 2 AA's, you're going to have to boost. If you use a 9 volt, it's actually going to have to, you're going to have to,
too much.
Yeah, it's too much. And so we found out that I was burning through different elements on our Arduino cache, because the 9 volt was just stressing the Arduino board. So that's just one of the problems. But so you ask, how long does it take? So when you build it here on the desk, I got it. Boy, it was working pretty good, and it probably took Olaf, I don't know how many hours, 5 hours maybe to program. Maybe takes you 5 hours to build. So you build it here and you push the buttons and it works great. Sure. But now you take it and you put it in 2 birdhouses, and then you find out it's not working great. So a lot of times, so then what we ended up having to do was go back to the drawing board time and time again to have one cache listen a little longer and the other one transmit, and we had to put pauses in. Right. And there's just different things you have to do so that it works well out in the field. Right. I think if I had a guesstimate, and this will scare people to death, but I'd rather be honest. I probably spend from concept to when the cache is ready. I think Olaf and I agree that we're probably somewhere north of 50 hours
per cache.
Per cache. Okay. Per cache.
Wow.
But you order, you got a concept, and then you order the material, and then you get stuff in, and then you program, and then you put it together, and then you got to move it from a breadboard. Then you've either got to solder it together or glue it together, and then you've got to build a gadget, and maybe the wires, you didn't make the wires long enough, they didn't reach. Of course, then you got to weatherproof your birdhouses. These things are they're very fragile. This is a microprocessor, so you now have to make them very, very durable. And that's a lot of times you can come up with great cache ideas, but I've got dozens and dozens of cache ideas that I can't put out because the idea is not durable enough. Or pieces. Somebody can take a piece. And you just about can't leave a drawer with 4 critical elements, because one of those critical elements are going to be missing. Right. So making a cache that's fragile, durable, is a challenge.
Yeah. Now, you're saying maybe 50 hours for these. Can you guesstimate how long you think you were taking to do something like I don't know Safecracker? Well, I was thinking some of your caches, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you spent the extra time that you needed was based on making sure, like you said, you've always been very careful to make sure that these caches are caulked well, they're painted well, they're durable before you even put them out into the field. So, so how long do you think it would take? You were taking before to do a
caches.
non-Arduino.
Let's use YouTube examples. Mechanical drawing uses Etch-a-Sketch.
Right.
Name That Tune uses xylophone.
Yeah, xylophone.
Now, Widget does have a motor in it, and it's a little bit more complicated. The library has a motor in it
has the little
that sends up an antenna. Simple ones like mechanical drawing,
right?
Or Safecracker. Safecracker is a great choice for anybody who wants to build a cache. A lot of times I'll get people that write me, and I do this, every week, and they'll say, man, I really want to do this, but I've never used a saw. Then I'll say, go do Safecracker.
Start here.
You find 3 simple things, program your lock, and man, it's fun. I mean, and you can make it a 1.5, 1.5, or you can make it a 1.55.
Yeah.
Because you hide one of those objects, or you get one of those locks. I've never done it. I have never thought about being this mean, but they make alphanumeric locks that have 5 digits now.
I did one like that.
Okay, so you go to Lowe's. Oh, shame on you. You go to Lowe's. You go to Lowe's and buy a 5-digit alphanumeric lock. You can hide 5 different things. And
I hid 5.
Don't do 20 feet. Do 30.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's difficulty 5, and I bought these little kitty toys because when I saw yours, it made me think about that. So I bought a little kangaroo and little play school toys. When you hide them, though, they can be really tough to find if the ground start. It's in the back part of a park, and it's in the woods. And in the woods, you've got ground cover starts coming up in the summertime, and it's a solid 5 trying to find those. Now, if you find 4, you can kind of sit there and work yourself through the 5th one, but still, But
those caches, a simple one like Safecracker, just 3 or 4 hours, right? 2-3 hours. One like mechanical drawing is really just building a birdhouse and doing a little work on your Etch-a-Sketch. Maybe 5 hours, maybe 10 if you're slow. So I think you could probably, but now like Widget might take 10 or 15. Maybe 10, 12, maybe. So I'd say an average of 5 to 10 for a normal gadget is kind of what I would take. But boy, these have taken it to an extreme. And I started these caches, the SCBC caches, I started last September. And I built caches from September and through about April. So for like 6 or 7 months, here in West Virginia, we got a lot of snow last year, and I'm blessed to have a little woodworking shop, and I've got a heater out there, and I would just spend hours out there building caches or working here, so I'm kind of a cache builder in the winter.
Right. Well, and you put...
You gotta be retired. Well, you either gotta be retired or have your priorities really screwed up. Because if you start spending 50 hours on a cache, there's other things. There's other things in life that are more important to me. But being retired, it helps keep my brain working. And these Arduino caches have really been fun for me. And I had a lot of fun days. It would be snow on the ground, and I'd eat breakfast and tell my wife I'll see you at lunch, and I'd go out to the shop or, come up here to the computer desk and work. But it's just it's a passion, something I love doing. But boy, since April, I haven't thought about building a cache, and, really right now, it's not something I like to do in the summer.
It's
it's a wintertime thing for me.
Sure. Well, and you're talking about building. How many are on the SCBC trail total?
15.
15. How many are 11 Arduino?
11 are smart.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, 11 are smart. And then there's a couple. There's one or two. One traditional hide, and then a couple gadgets.
Okay. Well,
I mean, pure gadgets. No mechanics. You don't have to bring your battery. Just cute caches.
Well, but if somebody wanted to do one, of course they don't have to do a whole Geotrail. I mean, if they want to spend time putting one out, I mean, that's not, to me, I don't think that that's an unreasonable amount of time, because I'm thinking of it in more terms of one or maybe two. So,
right.
In your case, you thought about it more from a trail perspective, which is great. Now, when you first got the idea, and of course you went to the visitors to the Martinsburg, visitor to the people of Martinsburg, right? And you said,
CVB.
I want to, CVB, yeah. And you said, hey, I've got a new idea. How did that whole interaction go with them? Were they like, whatever, or were they like, are you sure? Or
no, they actually did a geocaching seminar 4 years ago. Well, I do a geocaching seminar every spring. So there's a commercial. Anybody that's listening, third week of March, I do a geocaching seminar. And so I had, and we have a lot of people that have never geocached before come to the seminar. Because I get coverage in the paper, and I got a great article in the paper about geocaching. So the lady came up to me afterwards, and she handed me her card, and she said, "Can we talk sometime next week?" And I said, "Sure." Well, I looked at the card, and it said Martinsburg Convention and Visitors Bureau. And so the very first Geotrail they did, 2 or 3 of us that are local geocachers teamed together, and we kind of did 5 each, and we just put Tupperware out, and we placed them in different places around Berkeley County that were the little villages of Berkeley County.
The villages.
So we did.
That's what the trails, villages.
It's called Villages of Berkeley County.
Right.
And so we did it. Well, after that, they really liked it, and they liked the idea that was bringing people into the county. And so then that's when I went up to her and said, "Hey, I build gadget caches, because the one cache on that trail that had more favorites than all the others combined was a gadget that I'd built and donated to the county."
Right.
And I said, the one that they loved the most was this gadget. And I said, "I will build 15 of these for you, but I want to own them. If you'll do the coin, I'll build the geocaches. I'll pay for them." So they even paid for the lock and locks on the first trail. So I said, "Hey, how about on this trail, I'll do all the expense. I'll build the geocaches. I'll maintain them. I'll change the logs. I'll do everything. I'll find locations. All you got to do is give away a coin." She goes, "Boy, this has been great. I love to do that." Well, of course, that gadgets trail now, the best I can tell is probably, and I can't guarantee, but it looks like to me, it's one of the most favorited geotrails in the United States. It's nearing 5,000 favorite votes.
Amazing.
On just that one trail. So I think it's 4,700 favorite votes.
Right.
So boy, you talking about, I mean, that's a lot of people walking into the CVB.
Right.
And I always tell cache builders this. They go, "How'd you do this in Berkeley County?" And I always tell people, you can't put out one great cache and have people get off the interstate to find one great cache.
Right.
You might not be able to bring people off the interstate to find 2 great caches, maybe not 3 or 4. But when you put 15 or 20, like I have here, because there's a lot of my caches that I had out that are still in West Virginia's top 10s that aren't even on a trail, like the library and mechanical drawing and widget, and a lot of those caches that are my early caches. People. So when you build a whole host of caches, then people come there to cache. And that's kind of what happened with gadgets. And so you take my base and then you add gadgets to it. It was great. The CVB loved it. And they were selling hotel rooms every night. And here, our hotels I mean, our CVB is funded by 50% of the hotel tax.
Oh, very cool.
So the more people that come in and stay overnight in Berkeley County, the higher the revenue the CVB gets.
Yep.
And so when you're a geocacher and you're trying to work with your visitors bureau, one of the questions is, say, how do you get your funding? Because if you can scratch them where they itch, then, and guess what we did on the Gadgets of Berkeley County? We put out a night cache.
Oh, yes.
So all the local people can come, and I told them, I said, now all your local people are going to take a coin, and you're not going to get any cash benefit from it. And they go, yes, we understand that. Yeah. I said, but if we can put out a great trail, and somebody's coming from Ohio or Kentucky or Colorado or Seattle, they're going to have to stay overnight because they've got to get that night cache.
Night cache.
And they love that idea. And I put a kind of an unusual night cache, and it was really cute. And so that trail, you know, it kind of put us on the map. So Gadgets of Berkeley put us on the map.
So then you came to them last year and you said, I'm going to put out these smart caches. And now, when you did that, how did you incorporate the smart caches of Berkeley County into? Because we've talked about this before, where you started to get, once you got rolling, you started to get people who were like, I want a cache on my property, and then you're like, I can't put one on your property; it's too close to another one. So how did you determine how did you incorporate the smart caches of Berkeley County into Berkeley County?
Well, we did gadgets, and then we did mysteries. In fact, on mysteries, now the CVB came to me and said, hey, we're going to do another trail next year? And I go, well, do you want to? And they go, yes, please.
Yes.
We'd love to.
Yeah.
And so then after that trail, then they come up, you know, this was over a year ago now, and they go, what are we going to do next? And I go, I'm going to do one more. So I told them that I am not doing another one in 2017. I said, I just can't. I need a year off. So I don't think I'm going to do one in 2017. But the trail, whatever does come out in 2018, is going to be amazing, because now I've got a long time to put some fabulous caches together.
Oh, that's awesome.
But now businesses, you know, these businesses all start talking, and I get invited to the Rotary Club, and I work with the Chamber of Commerce, and then of course our CVB is so encouraging. And so now geocaching is the largest tourism draw for Berkeley County. So we bring more people for overnight stays in Berkeley County than anything else. But that you can't brag too much, because I don't have a state park. We don't have a national park. We don't have whitewater rafting. You know, I don't have a New Rivers Gorge Bridge. I mean, some of the big things in West Virginia we don't have right here in Berkeley County. Sure. But we do have geocaching. Oh, and so we've become a caching destination for people all over the world. I mean, so we've had people probably from 20 countries here this summer. Last year they keep track of, everybody walks in the visitor center, fills out a little card. Sure. And I think last year we had people from 42 states.
Wow.
So if you want to go geocaching and you love gadgets and you really want great caches, there's really no better place to vacation. And your dollars are going to go a long way here, because hotel rooms aren't that expensive. The cost of living, you know, your food's not going to cost you a fortune. It's not like going to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And if you love geocaches, this is where you kind of want to come and spend a weekend.
Yes. Now,
and businesses love it. I mean, now businesses are calling the CVB and say, hey, can you have that geocache guy call me? And so there's local hotels going up here now. There's a new Marriott going in, and it's not going to open. Not even going to open for months. They've already called the CVB and said, "Hey, can we get one of those things you hide?" I mean, they don't even know what they're called. But all the other hotels in different business forums have said, we've got a geocache on our property. And so the Marriott's already said, hey, we want a geocache on our property.
Incredible.
And so we almost kind of have like a waiting list now of people that really want people. So businesses here not only expect to see geocachers on their property, they enjoy having geocachers on their property.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible. Well, are you planning on going down to Waynesville, North Carolina next year?
Yes, I hope
Okay.
to.
Okay, good.
Yes, I do hope to go to North Carolina.
Like
My son lives in not far from Asheville, so
okay, great.
I'm definitely gonna. I think for sure going to be in North Carolina.
Oh, good. Well, yes, Slinky Mom and I are gonna make the trip over, and then we're wanting to make it up to your area. So I don't know how far it is from Waynesville, North Carolina, to Martinsburg, West Virginia, but we may have to make a loop around. Come up there.
I think it's probably going to be 7-8 hours.
Is it okay? Well, we're gonna work it out. Work it out one way or the other, but.
Yeah, in fact, I think next summer I'll probably see a little uptick in fines around Woodstock time. It won't be like Woodstock was,
2 years ago
when it was in Maryland.
Yeah,
I had on that Saturday, I had over 10,000 fines on that one on Saturday.
Which
and I read every single log.
I know.
I did.
That's 10,000 emails.
Yes, it took me hours, but I thought anybody always say that if you find a great cache, you ought to take the time to thank the cacher and write a nice log. Well, the cache owner owes it to you to read that log. And so I take pride. I read every single log and enjoyed every one of them.
That's wonderful. But I have learned from you. I make sure and I read every cache, even though some of them are not very good. Like you said, I'm got to give them my respect that they did the geocache and they wrote something. I'm going to read it, and hopefully they're good. And a lot of them are good. And that's a whole other show. But
that's another show. That's a whole topic there. That can be very sensitive. Yeah.
Yes, but you know what? What's funny about that is I have become more in tune with. Even though I've owned caches for years, but this is something you've also inspired me to do, and that is somebody's going to read it probably, and so I need to write better when I find a cache. I need to write, at the very least, I need to, even if it wasn't the greatest cache in the world, I want to at least tell a small snippet of a story as to why maybe I was there. Give them something to as a cache owner. That's something that I try to instill in others is like, okay, maybe my, my little lock at the bottom of a tree, maybe it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, or it was easy. Don't say it was an easy find. Tell me why are you in town? Why are you here? So
yeah.
Well,
I love people's logs. I get some finders that write such great stories. I see their log come in. I can't hardly wait to read it.
That's wonderful.
So sometimes it's not, and I do it quite often. I'll send thank you notes for the logs I get. And my wife says,
awesome.
You don't need to do that. They're sending you a thank you note, thanking you for the cache. So it's a thank you note for a thank you note. And I go, I don't care. I appreciate them,
Well, I appreciate you being on the show tonight and telling all this cool stuff about these smart caches and Arduino. It's fascinating to me, and I might just have to go get me a small one and start playing with it. And
you got to start somewhere. Start with one.
That's right. Start with one. So again, thank you so much, Tim, for being on. So normally I do a product review of the week at this point. I'm not going to do one this week, but what's interesting about my product reviews of the week, they're sponsored by Cachely. Cachely is the foremost geocaching app. Can be found at cach.ly. And the reason I say that is because next week I'm going to have on Nick Hubbard, the inventor, as we call him, the programmer, the man who invented Cachely, the Cachely app. So Nick will be on next week on show number 14. Show number 15 on September 18th. We'll have Joshua Johnson, and I'm calling his show the Double Secret Trip. He actually told people where he's going. He's actually there now. He's in South Korea, And so they have an event set up, Tim, for him. I think he had 3 people that are going to be at the event. But hey, at least he's got a little event set up in South Korea, and of course he'll cache while he's there. But I think he's there obviously for his work. But kind of neat that Joshua got to go to South Korea. So he's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. We're going to talk about that, his trip. And then in 3 weeks, on September 25th, I have actually a pre-recorded show, but it's going to come out on that date. It's show number 16 with Michelle Weidenbender. She wrote, she's an author. She wrote Cache a Predator, and she wrote a fairly new book in her series, The Little Girl. Why am I? Eclair. Eclair Goes Geocaching. She wrote a book about that. And we're going to talk about her books. We're also going to talk about people writing down kind of in a journal form. Maybe you can even make it into a book, but write down what you learned and what your experiences are geocaching, so that you might be able to use that experience for the if you want to make a book out of it, that'd be fine. But more just to kind of maybe just kind of coalesce in your mind. Why is it that, what is geocaching teaching you personally? So we're going to talk about that on the show, on show 16. But anyway, again, Tim, thanks again for being on tonight.
Wait, just one thing. Tell Nick next week, Cachely's now my go-to app.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that program. I just found it a month or so ago, and boy, he's done a fabulous job. I love that. I love that app. So thank him for me.
I will.
Tell him he's got a fan. Tell him that he had a fan on the week before.
Yes, I will tell him that. And yeah, I'm a huge fan as well. And I got to meet Nick out in Denver, and got to spend a little time with him, and it was great fun. He's a neat guy. And so yeah, we're gonna talk cache a little bit. It'll be fun. So I will pass on your words, Tim, to him, and I'm sure that's wonderful. Some high praise there about Cachely. So thank you again. Well, any other last words? I'm going to wrap up here, Tim. Anything else?
No, I'm good. Hey, thank you for having me. I always appreciate when you have a West Virginia country boy on here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, being currently in East Texas, we're far apart, but yet it seems like we're not really that far apart in the world. And so, just know that West Virginia has influenced Greenville, Texas, and the geocaches out there. I've got some birdhouses and some my little sundial cache is all influenced by West Virginia. So again,
good for you. Good for you.
Okay, well that's thank you so much. Well, we hope you enjoy the show tonight. Email me your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at geocachetalk and Facebook at facebook.com/geocachetalk. Show can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, as well as the Geocache Talk website. Tell your friends about the show and ask them to subscribe so they too can hear the show on a weekly basis. And until then, do like Tim and don't just talk about geocaching, but actually go out and do geocaching. So that's the way to do it. Good night, everyone. Stop my audio and bye, everybody. Stop the broadcast.